Welcome to Beyond the Press Release, a production of Agoracom, in which we take the time to speak with small cap executives after they put out important news, especially when the news is about themselves. Because on the screen, Lee Hughes, a lot of you know him as our Beyond the Expert. We've done some great webcasts together, but today he was announced as interim CEO at React Gaming, trades in Canada under RGG, for our friends in the US under ITMZF. For those who are new to the story, as the name probably tells you, they're an emerging esports and iGaming company. They're creating an esports adventure like no other. And what they're going to do is create the world's foremost esports and iGaming, which for a lot of you don't know the terminology, online gambling ecosystem. Let's talk about those two parts. The global online gambling market could potentially hit $1 trillion by the end of this decade for obvious reasons. More and more people online, more and more jurisdictions needing those tax dollars. On the esports side, it was already the fastest growing subsector of digital entertainment, and COVID only accelerated the trend. 2023, next year, to expect to have 650 million global viewers, and they're growing a business of $1.4 billion in 2020. An industry is now growing at 24% compounded annual growth rate. As far as React goes, here's where the void they're filling. Despite the vast amount of viewers, esports is still dramatically under-monetized relative to traditional sports. The company has made some major acquisitions. We're going to talk about them. The likes of Loot.bet had $92 million in total bets in 2020, over 500,000 registered users, great financial success. Parabellum Esports and Compete. A lot of you know that name is HypeX. Now Compete. Lee, my friend, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, George. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Congratulations on this appointment. A lot of people don't know that you've got a significant amount of experience as an entrepreneur in the venture capital world for the last 20 years. How do you feel about getting back into the driver's seat as CEO?
Yeah, it's been a few years since I've been in the hot seat, as you probably want to call it. But I'm excited. You know, I've been a very good advocate for React, and you know, this is pre-asset ownership of all the assets that it owns. When it was just a vision company, I guess late 2020 was when I first got presented the business. You know, I'm a significant shareholder of the company, and I'm here to help drive the business forward into the next phase of its growth cycle. You know, I don't have gaming or iGaming or esports experience, but I do have, as you mentioned, a lot of capital markets experience, you know, M&A experience and whatnot. And I guess,
and you've had a successful exit. Like, don't be too shy. Like, you've already had a successful exit or two, right?
Yeah, I have. So I certainly know what it takes to take a business from, you know, blank canvas to acquisition. And you know, it takes a lot of hard work. Raising the capital is the first part, but executing on that capital is the most important part. And you know, I think in small cap world, we all struggle with the execution part because it comes with its peaks and troughs. You know, as management, we can get sometimes caught up in the emotion of what the market is doing and how that's impacting our day jobs, and sometimes, most of the time, actually distracting us from actually executing on the business. And the good thing for React is, you know, like I said, I would call React a year ago a vision company. It had a great vision. It didn't own assets. It owns assets now. And I think the marketplace is now wanting to see these assets become, I guess, will realize its value for the business and its ecosystem, as you mentioned.
Yeah, delivering that. So let's talk about those assets, because you got three great ones. And look, the company's been quiet for a while because May was the worst market, even for the biggest companies in the world in the last 100 years. The Dow was negative for 8 weeks in a row. It hadn't happened since 1923. So all of us stayed kind of quiet, right? But it's June. Let's get a bit of a catch up here. Loot.bet is a fantastic asset. What's the status there? What are your plans?
Look, I've been familiarizing myself over the last week or two with all the assets, having very good granular conversations with the asset leaders, who in their own right are just phenomenal operators. Loot.bet has a lot of data, has years of data that sits behind it to back up its performance and its value. The esports sector has had its challenges in the last 2 years, although it's seen the amount of eyeballs grow. The actual execution of tournaments, strangely, has decreased because of COVID and the
because even though it's esports, a lot of those tournaments take place in big stadiums, and that could
correct.
happen.
Yeah, and sponsorship dollars enable the brick and mortar tournaments to take place, but of course, when you can't fill up a stadium, the sector has been affected in multiple ways. Loot.bet was a really big acquisition for the business, as everyone would have seen that are investors. The business was halted for quite some time because of, in part and parcel to Loot.bet taking place or acquiring it. We also were obtaining the Isle of Man license, which is, the Ferrari of licenses for the space. We were successful in being able to obtain that license. Right now, we're actually, augmenting the platform to be completely underneath the Isle of Man jurisdiction, and that takes time. But I tell you what, with what we have there as Loot.bet and the business, we're really excited to see it operate under that license and jurisdiction. Of course, what comes with that jurisdiction is somewhat a very big responsibility, but that's okay, because as we see in a lot of new spaces, the grey market or the black market typically takes time to become legitimate, and the fact that we're going to be legitimized under a really good jurisdiction with the Isle of Man is very, very important.
And it comes with quite some heft, right? You had close to $100 million done in 2020 in total handle, over 500,000 registered users, and if I'm not mistaken, just under $5 million in revenue and just over $100,000 in profit. So it's not like you're starting green. You've got a nice little launch pad.
We really do, and the more we lift up the hood, the more people have been exposed to Loot.bet. And what we're really excited about with that platform is actually exposing it to the Canadian and the US market. The numbers and the growth potential here is huge. The growth potential to expand into Europe and other parts of APAC or Asia Pacific is huge. We're having a lot of very interesting discussions at the moment with lots of different jurisdictions around the planet, now that we're becoming calibrated internally with the platform and the product. And like I said, this ecosystem right now is going into the next phase of its growth cycle, which is pulling it all together and React as the parent, basically just becoming the enabler for these assets to just perform really, really well. One of the things that is missing in this space, which really attracted me when being asked to come back and get involved at management or as an executive, is the industry in gaming, gambling, call it what you will, has really struggled in North America to maintain their valuations, and a lot of that is because of they're just not making money.
Well, DraftKings is just bleeding money by the billions, and that's why their stock's gone from 70-ish to $10 last week. Yeah,
the competitiveness that exists in being able to really the customer acquisition cost, as we all know, is extremely competitive, and which means it's very, very high. And the average revenue per user, or the ARPU, just does not balance out.
Doesn't make sense.
No. So we're quite fortunate. Our customer acquisition cost versus our average revenue per user is not by any means or any stretch as bad as what some of these companies that are reporting on, like DraftKings and whatnot. And I'm very buoyant about trying to see how we can take that as an opportunity, create this business as an ecosystem to be completely EBITDA positive, and then operating just day to day. I mean, we always see in these types of sectors, these growth potentials, these disruptive spaces or sectors, they certainly have their ebbs and flows, but there's typically always an acquisition opportunity that comes from this too. You're going to see a lot of businesses that may just not have the formula right, that could be acquired to come in or be the acquirer. So look, it's interesting times for us as a business. Loot.bet is certainly a cornerstone asset that we're going to be leveraging, and
Well,
you
that
know, we're
completes the
excited by it.
ecosystem, right? It's one important part of the ecosystem.
Exactly, yeah.
Another important part is Parabellum Esports. That's a professional Rainbow Six esports team that's got over 450,000 followers. Generate revenue through sponsorships, prize money, and merchandise. Tell us about how Parabellum is going and right now, and where you see it going down the road.
Yeah, kicking huge goals at the moment, the Parabellum guys. You know, I was on the phone with them today, between their team, their men's team that are positioned down in Vegas, and their women's team actually that are positioned down in Brazil. The guys are really kicking some goals. You know, they've been able to advance themselves up the ranks. And like I said, you know, with full disclaimer, I'm not an esports expert, so I'm learning. But you know, they've been able to attract new sponsorship, which we're going to hear about soon. They're really performing as, you know, top 4 performers in their competition environment.
Nice.
Their tournaments, you know, it's looking very positive for them to be graduating up into the international tournament environment, which is great for them. And you know, I guess as we're talking about the ecosystem, you know, we have assets that are exposing each other's assets and brand value. And you know, Loot.bet has such a great brand presence in amongst specific jurisdictions. You know, that only helps our other branded assets, being, you know, obviously Compete.gg and Parabellum as well. So, you know, the guys are just chipping away and they're doing well.
Compete was HypeX, now Compete. Just explain to everyone briefly what Compete does, and then same thing, you know, how's it going? Where do you see yourself taking it?
Yeah, so Compete is our tournament platform. You know, you and I can punch in and we can, you know, start having a go against each other in different tournaments. Again, I'm still familiarizing myself with all the new games and whatnot. The marketplace will hear about some pretty exciting news on Compete, you know, in short order. You know, they're heavily into product development right now to make sure that we're just upskilling and upsizing the different opportunities for monetization. The next real key phase for this project, or for this product internally here, is to get exactly that, is to start monetizing the asset, from sponsorship opportunities because of the eyeballs, to subscription fees from users, active users, you know, sponsorship dollars for tournaments, and so forth. We've got an exceptional team of developers and tech project managers. I think you've met Ty Root, who's the CEO of Compete.
Yep. It was really exciting.
With a lot of experience, and I'm talking global experience, and working with global brands that are working on this project. I'll be going and visiting the guys over the next couple of weeks. But we're going to be sharing a lot more about the performance of these assets now over the course of the next few months, so that the shareholders can understand that although it might look like the business has been in a holding pattern, there has certainly been a lot going on behind the scenes with the key assets. You know, markets are generally soft, and have been, like you said. You mentioned May was a very tough month for most of the market across the globe. Esports has certainly not, or in iGaming has certainly not been protected from any of that. And you know, we're a new sector, a new space. So we've just got to make sure that we're hitting the numbers, and numbers are everything. If we can survive, if an EBITDA positive business can survive in a down market, that's okay, because as soon as the market shifts, those that are hitting their numbers and that are making money, naturally, in my opinion, will go with the trend.
They'll be rewarded.
That's our hope. You know, we need to increase the size of our shareholder base, like all small cap businesses need to. You know, we need to be presenting ourselves to the right investor base. We need to just make sure that we're showing the investors that the reason why they invested has not changed, and that is because, you know, we needed to make sure that as a vision company a year ago, we were raising money to be able to acquire these assets, to make them real and to obviously generate a return and increase the value in the company, which obviously then increases the value for the shareholders. So that message has absolutely not changed. And, you know, whether it was me coming in as an interim or someone else, the board have made it very, very clear within the business that that message does not change. And I could not, you know, I absolutely agree with them.
Well, I love the ecosystem that you guys have built. You got the betting platform, you got the esports team, and personally, I love Compete, the peer-to-peer esports tournament platform. Why? Because unfortunately, I'm over 50 now, and you know I can't compete in the real world like I used to. So I see a huge opportunity in us gray guys who still have the competitive juice. And I'm not
Yeah,
including you in that group because you're younger than I am, but we still have and you're fitter than I am, but we still got that competitive juice where I want to play NBA 2K or hockey or FIFA against somebody, and I want to make it interesting. And I think Compete is going to fill a really big, nice whole opportunity there, and I can't wait to see how the whole ecosystem continues
yeah,
to move forward, buddy.
yeah. I mean, look, what I will say, and we don't need to sort of continue on for much longer, but
Yeah.
the team are extremely agile, which has just impressed me. Very agile team, very used to operating in an environment where you have to be nimble. These guys are from 18 years old or 16 years old, right the way up to our generation, if you want to call it that, and they're exceptionally creative in finding ways to make things work. And I think we're seeing in the esports space exactly that. I think we're seeing a calibration of the space. There are a lot of early players that came in and decided to take a risk and operate on it and try and work out what the business model is, the business model that works for the space. And we've seen some that they haven't succeeded, but they're pioneers. And we're seeing others maybe that are a little bit later to the party, like us, that have, I guess, taken our time. And we're fortunate enough that we've got an ecosystem that has the different types of assets that we have, so that we can not just bet on one horse.
Yeah,
and I
love that.
think that's been a really key move by management in the past, and also the board and their direction. So that's where we're at, George. And like we certainly haven't gone away. Like I said, it might be seen that we've been in a holding pattern, but there's certainly been things going on behind the scenes, and the marketplace is going to certainly become aware of a lot of that over the next few months.
Well, Lee, the company's acquired its fourth asset, and that's you. And I don't say that lightly because I've had you on Beyond the Expert. Your track record speaks for itself in the venture capital space. You know the right people follow you. You know what it takes to succeed. You know what the pitfalls are, where the landmines are for all small emerging companies. They're all the same. And now with you at the head of the table, man, I think that's another great asset, and I can't wait to have you back. But for today, I want to congratulate you on your appointment. Well deserved.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Appreciate that.
For everybody at home, you've been watching or been listening by podcast on Spotify, Google, Apple, your favorite podcast platform. To Lee Hughes, he's CEO, interim, but I think it's full-time CEO at React Gaming, trades on the stock symbol RGG in Canada, and for our friends in the US under ITMZF. For those new to the story and you believe in the future of esports or iGaming, and especially believe what can be done when they're together, then head over to the company's profile page on Agoracom so you can educate yourself on the different components. And then when you've got that knowledge, head right over to the React Gaming website, do your deep dive due diligence. Hopefully today you discovered your next amazing small cap company. Have a great day. Thanks for joining us. See you next time.
Thanks, guys.
Hey guys, the video's over, but don't forget to help your company by liking it and even leaving a comment below. And then don't forget to help yourself by subscribing to our YouTube channel so you never miss another great Agoracom small cap video.